Hello, welcome to Viewpoint. I'm Chris Kenny. The election campaign is really hotting up now, and not in a good way for the government. Those of you who have been watching Sky over the past couple of years and reading The Australian know that I've been arguing for a couple of years now, more than 2 years, that Labor can't win this election. That's because they start from behind, because I believe there are really deep structural problems with their arguments. They've got the broken carbon tax promise to deal with, and very, very difficult policy arguments to make on border protection and especially on economic management. But having said all that, as we approach the halfway mark of this campaign, just a couple of days away from the halfway mark, all the news is bad for the way the government is handling this campaign and the way it's being received in the key marginal electorates. I'll have some more information on that later in the program with a sneak preview of the latest news poll that will be in the Australian newspaper tomorrow. We've seen a lot of polls published over the past few days, though, that suggest the government is heading in the wrong direction. The campaign, from the government's point of view, has lacked a clear message, but I think one positive point for the government today is that Kevin Rudd seemed to get back onto strong territory. He was talking about health and finding more money for health and hospitals, and that is usually strong ground for the Labor Party, and for this government it's the sort of ground they need to get onto. But they've also unleashed new attack ads, negative ads against Tony Abbott. That will be a key part of their campaign. We'll talk about that later on with the panel as well. But as we talk about where the election is placed in terms of the polls, it's very instructive to have a look at a little bit of history. And I just went back today and looked at, since 1975, the elections in which we have changed government in this country. Not all the elections, just those where we've changed government. If you go back to 1975, of course, when the Coalition took government from the Whitlam Labor government, they did so by winning 30 seats. They took 30 seats off the Labor Party. The Labor Party came back into government in 1983 when Bob Hawke led Labor to victory over the Coalition, and he picked up 24 seats to regain government. Of course, he governed for over a decade, and in 1996, the Keating government lost to the Coalition. John Howard came to power. He picked up 29 seats. And then, of course, the Rudd slide in 2007 when Labor came back into power, led by Kevin Rudd. The ALP in that election picked up 23 seats. So if you follow my logic here, the reason I highlight these numbers is that when you average out those change of government elections, the average number of seats picked up is about 26, just over 26 seats. So we tend to be quite emphatic when we change government. So if you're starting to think that it looks like the country is about to change from the Rudd-Gillard-Rudd Labor government to an Abbott-led coalition government, that history is instructive. We usually do it by 26 seats or more. Long way to go, though. A long way to go indeed in this campaign. Still 3 weeks to go, and Labor will be doing everything to pull the situation back. Just have a look at what the Labor Party, the government, have put out today in terms of their latest campaign strategy. This is a video that they've circulated. That's Kevin Rudd speaking to the party faithful, the workers and volunteers at campaign headquarters. Kevin Rudd addressing them directly.
A bit of truth takes you a long way. It's a true message. It's a real message. I will not be drawing breath for the next 3 weeks. I will be going to every part of the country, every electorate that we are targeting.
Yeah, well, that's a sort of a cross between Barack Obama and David Brent from The Office, I think, in that video. Very, very strange image, very much focused on Kevin Rudd. Now, if Kevin Rudd is losing his appeal, then the Labor campaign is in all sorts of strife. I'll have some more information and we'll talk to our panel about that later in the program. But first up, we better catch up on all the day's news with Sharon McKenzie.